Welcome. I'm Bob Coleman, the producer of Coleman's 2015 Certified SBA 7A Loan Servicing Training with Lance Sexton. Lance, you're the former Deputy Director of the Little Rock Loan Servicing Center, faculty adjunct for, I was going to say Walmart, but Benton School, something over there.
The Walton.
Consultant, SBA expert extraordinaire. And Lance, appreciate you having this, appreciate you doing this. We've done 4 or 5 of these now. I've enjoyed working with you. Everybody, Lance is a great instructor. You're going to have a good time. As 2 of you already know, congratulations to Andrea Mitchell of Northeast Bank and Susan Silva. They are our students right out of the gate. Lance, they've already completed week 1.
That's pretty impressive, Bob.
Yeah, they're good for you. All right, let me tell you how this is going to work. We always like to get together. Obviously, it's online, but we do have a interaction. By the way, Joseph, why is Lance all fuzzy?
Yeah. It looks like I'm in a purple haze.
Yes.
Lance, try to put your
hand up. Put your hand up to the camera.
There we go.
There we go. All right. I thought maybe Arkansas was going off the grid.
Yeah, probably so.
So we'd like to do this, just walk you through it and what's going to happen. It is online. The purpose of that is you can view it as many times as you want at your leisure. But we also have this interactive portion where Lance will answer your questions and go more in depth of what you want to do. Our goal is to make you experts at servicing SBA 7A loans. And if you're not an expert after 8 weeks, then it's on us. It's certainly not on you, but I will guarantee you, you will be an expert. Let's see. So your background. So Lance, how many years have you been involved with SBA lending?
Well, Bob, I started working SBA deals back in 1983, which kind of explains the gray hair on my head. First loan I ever worked on was an SBA direct loan. Life was a lot different then because technology was not where it is today, and you know, SBA 1's getting ready to come out, and that's going to even bring enhancement to the lenders in origination, servicing, liquidation function. But back then, Bob, we typed up the loan application, and the local district office housed all the lenders, SBA loan officers, and I would carry this gigantic SBA loan document over to an SBA loan officer. So I've been working in and around SBA loans for about 32 years. Served as director of the Small Business Development Center at the University of Arkansas. And
I forgot that. I forgot that was in your resume. Interesting.
Yeah, and Bob, SBDCs, not all of them do this, but I focused on packaging SBA loans for banks because, again, we didn't have the technology we have today. It was hand cranking out documents. We used computers, but we cranked the documents out and actually delivered hard copy applications to the SBA back then. Then I had the pleasure of building SBA lending departments in 3 banks, and that was interesting, and had the opportunity to work on originating both 7A and Express loans. And then probably the most impactful, servicing is a passion, Bob. You know servicing is a passion for me. And the time I spent as Deputy Director of the Little Rock Commercial Loan Servicing Center of the SBA was a very impactful time on my career because I not only had the servicing knowledge that you get on the banker side, but I developed an understanding of servicing from the SBA side. And where that comes into play is being able to help our participants in this training, Bob, understand it. If I have a problem with an SBA loan in terms of servicing, how do you fix it? The SOP doesn't always give you the answer. Sometimes there are workarounds and things that our participants need to know that knowledge was developed when I was at SBA. And for the last several years, I've worked in the consulting area, working with banks throughout the country on servicing their SBA portfolios.
Yeah. So you will become an expert in SBA 7A servicing. that will happen. Let's go through some housekeeping. Purpose of this is meet and greet, is go through all the logistics, make sure you understand clearly how to do things. You can ask questions two ways. You can do it during the week by sending an email to Lance at colemanreport.com. You can send it to Joseph. He'll get it over to Lance. You can also ask it live. We finally had someone ask a live question. To do that, you raise your hand, and Joseph will put you up, and we'll open up the mic, and you can play Stump the Professor. See if we can stump Lance on a technical, in-the-weeds type question. Let's see. What are we doing next? Oh, everyone should know what this looks like. If you have any problems, please pick up the phone, call Joseph, and he'll walk you through it. Have we ever had a firewall issue, Joseph? Okay, no, we've not had any firewall issues with the bank. If you have that issue, you can't log in, we'll walk you through it. And this is what happens. We will upload. Our promise is to upload it every Tuesday morning by 8 o'clock Pacific or 9 o'clock Pacific. We'll do it Monday, just so some of you have already figured that out. We like to give ourselves an extra day in case we have technical problems at our ends. We promise Tuesday by 9 Pacific. It'll be there on Monday. There are modules. The modules are usually 5 or 6. They're short. We do that on purpose so you can do it in bite-sized chunks. We have a little quiz at the end of every module. It is not graded. It's just to reinforce concepts. And we have reading materials. And the reading materials are assigned by Lance every week. We ask you to go through those and to give you an entire college-level advanced course. That's the way this is designed for you to have become an expert. One thing we don't have, and Lance, you and I have talked about this, and we will do in the future, we don't have homework assignments. We will be incorporating that. We haven't quite figured out the appropriate way to do that in an online situation, but we'll figure something out.
Are you telling me I can assign a research paper?
You can assign a case study, absolutely. You may not get it done, but you can have it assigned. And no, you cannot outsource your consulting projects. I'm not going to let you do that. Here are the weeks. Lance, take it away. What is your overarching theme?
Well, the first week we're going to talk about the various responsibilities that an SBA lender has related to servicing. And servicing is not just when a customer walks in the door and says, hey, I can't make my payment this month, what can you do for me? There's a variety of reports that have specific due dates. We're going to talk about those things and other types of key responsibilities that the SBA lender has. We're going to cover environmental issues in servicing, and it's so critical to understand that. I'm walking through a servicing issue with the bank right now, Bob, where they had made a loan on a convenience store with gas pumps and tanks, and handling the environmental side, not just on the origination, but throughout the life of the loan and servicing and in liquidation, handling it properly is critically important. We're going to give you all the information you need in submitting a servicing request. We'll talk about those actions that are unilateral and how you document those, and we'll talk about the ones that SBA has to approve and how you document those. Then we talk about some specific SBA servicing actions in week 4 and 5. We're going to talk about the workout plan, because the workout plan is a commonly banks do it wrong.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a trap. It's not done correctly.
It's a place where you can create repair issues in your SBA loans, so we're going to talk about that. I wanted to talk about the litigation plan in this servicing training, because it also is very common, Bob, for banks to engage an attorney and never get their litigation plan approved when SBA is required. And then they get at the end of the process and want to be reimbursed for those litigation expenses, and without that approved litigation plan, they're out of it.
I agree with you. I'm glad you put that in. I think servicing officers need to understand some basics of litigation and start preparing the template, start preparing the kit for that litigation officer. So I think that's very critical, that if things do go south, we know what happens.
And then we're going to wrap it up with just a good discussion of some special servicing actions. One thing I wanted to point out, Bob, in week one, actually talked to 3 SBA senior servicing officers at one of the commercial loan servicing centers, and I said, what are some of the most common mistakes made in servicing? And there's some discussion about that and how to avoid those problems.
Excellent.
So, for our group, it's a good comprehensive training on how to properly service your SBA loan.
I failed in my role as the moderator. I should always let you know how you can adjust what you're looking at. You can control where those video images are. Click on dashboard, click on video, and you can size those to the top, left, right, center. You can even get rid of it so you control how your screen works. I've told you how to... Yes, go ahead, Lance.
One more thing I wanted to add to our participants. The Friday office hour session, please bring your questions to the Friday office hour session. Servicing is an area where I really expect a lot of great real-world questions on Friday, Bob, on real servicing issues that they're dealing with and what they should do. And I'll be happy to answer those. Bob will tell you, as soon as you email myself or Joseph, I usually get an answer out very promptly. But they make for great discussion on Friday and will help elevate the knowledge of our entire group.
Yeah, when you're facing an issue on a real life case study, change the names to protect the guilty and send it to us. I also wanted to enforce that if you are behind and you haven't quite finished the week, please log into office hours as well. If for some reason you can't make the office hours, Joseph does upload those. They will be online in your dashboard, so everything can be accessed at your leisure. So if you don't see this live, you can still participate. We always like to do we're through with the Litmos, and we always like to ask poll questions. We do this at every office hour. We're going to do it today, so let's bring that up. And this is anonymous. We're not tracking. We're not doing NSA type tracking. So this just gives Lance a better understanding, myself a better understanding of the audience. Does your bank have a specific officer in charge of servicing SBA loans? Just curious if I have to do. And go ahead, Lance.
I just asked this question because I really believe that the servicing part of an SBA loan, it's critically important to have one person in your bank extremely knowledgeable on servicing. You could have several SBA lenders, but they bring their servicing actions to the central point. So I was just curious how our banks are doing.
How do you feel about that?
I'm not surprised because, again, Bob, it depends on the size of the bank.
Right.
Some banks will have multiple people involved in the servicing area. But I still think every bank needs a key point person.
A dedicated person. I would agree with that. Question number 2. How many people in your bank are knowledgeable of the SBA unilateral authority matrix? 1, 2, more than 2. You should have had a fourth response was, what is the SBA unilateral authority matrix?
Well, Bob, I can answer that question quite well because in my time at SBA, I actually was involved in a committee that drafted the unilateral authority matrix. The one thing I can promise our participants, it will change, and it continues to evolve. I like to call it's a living, breathing document. As we had this discussion before the call today, Bob, John Miller was in charge of all the centers when I was deputy director at SBA, and he is kind of the architect of all the positive change in unilateral matrix. So we're going to see it continue to change, and this is something I'd like to see. And I love seeing 44% more than 2,
right?
Because I think everybody in your bank who works in SBA lending needs to have a copy and needs to understand.
John Miller is the Chief Operations Officer of SBA, the highest staff, non-political person. He's in charge of of the programs. He's a good guy. He's one of the good guys. So we have some very good people in the bureaucracy. Question number 3. How often have you tried to reinstate an SBA loan because of the guarantee fee not being paid in a timely manner? I assume there's a reason why you asked that question.
Well, Bob, it's something that I cover in the initial week of training. I think probably one of the most disheartening things an SBA lending bank can have happen is they get a loan approved, they forget to pay the guarantee fee on time, they continue on down the road. Something happens to the loan, they present their purchase demand request, and they find out that SBA canceled the loan 5 years ago. So it's something that I actually took one session just to talk about how to take care of this.
And for you 56%, hopefully that will continue to be outside of your realm of experience. And as you can see, we've had other people who've had to do that. Question number 4. Go ahead, Lance.
One simple takeaway on this, Bob, is always follow up with SBA. Always. I mean, if you think things are good, just pick up the phone, call the servicing center, and say, this is SBA loan 584-23-7001. What's the status? And if they say current, say thank you.
The other thing also is become an expert of your quarterly service report. I was in America East last week in Baltimore. The head of Herndon says, compare SBA's report that you will get every quarter with your own loans. And if there's something on SBA's list that you don't have, that's going to be a red flag. And if you have a loan on your list and SBA doesn't have it, that's a red flag. So maybe that's your first homework assignment, is get a hold of that list and start comparing. And that's good. And the reason why that's important, Lance, is SBA has made a commitment to clean down, to winnow out those 16,000 loans that are on the books that need to be charged off, need to be off the books. And that's going to come up in your review. That's one of the first things the SBA is going to look at is, are you doing the wrap-up reports and are you cleaning up these loans? So the first thing you do as a servicer is compare those two.
Now, Bob, I don't want to try to sell another training to them while they're just starting one, but we do have a great liquidation certification training that specifically tells you how to prepare the wrap-up report. That is a problem in the pairs review that is going to become a normal part of SBA lenders' life. One of the measurements that's critical is the age of the loans that are in liquidation and the number of loans that are not charged off.
You basically have, they're going to give you 3 years. So if anything under 3 years on your report is fine, but once those loans go over 3 years in liquidation status, you're going to have issues. SBA is going to assume that you aren't being prudent. In other words, what they were saying is we need to bring closure. You just simply can't sit on it. And if you're the servicer and you're seeing this loan that's been a non-accrual for 3 or 4 years, that's a red flag that you need to immediately address.
Well, and what's critical, Bob, SBA lenders send in their PDK. They get paid by SBA.
Yeah.
There's nothing else to liquidate.
They charge it off.
Bankruptcy.
Yeah.
You still have to wrap it up.
Right, but you charge it off on your books. You think you're home free, and then the reviewer is going to come in and say, hey, what happened to ABC Liquor? And, we charged it off years ago. Well, you didn't tell SBA you charged it off. You're still showing it as your loan. So that's going to be a ding on your audit. Absolutely. Okay. We are preaching to the choir, Lance. It's fun. Does your bank do a reasonable level of lending to the following industries? Daycare, childcare, nurseries, residential care, senior care.
Well, and Bob,
elder care.
Got left off here: dry cleaners and gasoline stations.
And I assume you are leading us toward environmental.
Well, it leads into week 2 of our training where we talk about environmentals, daycare, childcare, nurseries, residential care, oil and gas stations, and dry cleaners all have special environmental requirements in the SBA SOP 5057. So just curious how many people lend in those industries.
About 1/3, 2/3.
Okay.
Great. And you still need to be aware of it. Even if you don't do a lot of it, you need to be aware of these rules. Okay, tell us what are we talking about in week? Oh, I'm sorry. One more. I've been corrected. How many servicing actions? How many servicing actions have you had to submit to Little Rock or Fresno for the approval in the last year? 1 to 2, 3 to 5, more than 5. Lance, assume we have a newbie servicer. They know where Little Rock and Fresno are, but what do those centers do for us?
Well, the Little Rock and Fresno Commercial Loan Servicing Center is SBA's management of the servicing process of the entire country's SBA portfolio. Little Rock basically covers the eastern 24 states, Guam, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. And it's kind of odd, Bob. I wished I had the map up, but they basically go west to Texas, but they go north and come across Oklahoma, all the way over to the East Coast, and then north up to Maine. So it's kind of an odd territory. I always found it weird, Bob, working loans from northwest Arkansas. If I have a loan in Fayetteville, Arkansas, it goes to Little Rock. If I have a loan in Joplin, Missouri, which is 37 miles from Fayetteville, it goes to Fresno. But the Fresno and Little Rock Center is who handles all servicing and 504 liquidation, express and community advantage loan liquidation for the country. If you're on the West Coast or Midwest, you're Fresno. If you're in the Mid-South and East Coast, you're going to be Little Rock.
And, I always give my pitch. There are the answers, by the way, so that gives you an idea of the expertise of the class. You're 1 or 2. We're going to make you feel very comfortable on how to do it. And I always give my pitch for Joel Steiner, the director in Fresno. They have a new location. They will, if you're in the area on vacation or you need a problem, stop by. They will roll out the red carpet. He will personally give you a tour. Very, very customer friendly. If you ever have any issues with Fresno or Little Rock, send an email to the director. It's not.
Yeah, Nikki Carrington on Little Rock and Joel Steiner out in Fresno.
They're superb.
Stop by Joel's place. Give him a heads up. Joel may throw a barbecue for you. He's that nice again.
And so if you feel you're not being treated fairly, just say, hey Joel, I have this issue. Can you help me out? You will get a response within 30 minutes. I mean, he's that fast. Now, you may not like the response that you get, but you will certainly be treated fairly. What's going on with week 1, Lance?
Well, we're going to talk about lender responsibility. The word prudent lender is used throughout SBA lending, both on the origination, servicing, and liquidation side, or in all 3 areas. We're going to talk about SBA lender responsibility, monitoring loans, reports that are required, and the due dates, how to apply payments at different parts of the loan's life, how to deal with loans that do need reinstated, i.e. not paying the guarantee fee on time or accidentally canceling the loan on your 15. The most common reason a reinstatement is required is the 1502 report. You click the drop-down box, you pick the wrong status and marked it paid in full. But we're going to talk about dealing with that. We're going to talk about when you have to remit repayments to the SBA, how that's taken care of.
Right. And what are the reading assignments? What are we reading?
Well, I asked a question about the unilateral authority matrix. I wanted you to spend time reviewing that. Again, it's something that will change frequently in your life as an SBA lender, so you'll get comfortable with this one. We were talking about John Miller earlier. One thing that John looks to do is to put more and more responsibility for servicing on the participant banks. That's why training like this is so important, because SBA is going to be looking for you to be a prudent lender and properly service your SBA loan. Also provided the paid in full form and how to reverse it. So a couple of good add-on reading materials for week 1.
Very good. Well, for all of you on the line, you are going to enjoy the training. Lance is an excellent instructor. Please take advantage of all of the other options in terms of sending questions to him as they come up during the week, and we'll talk about it. these office hours, this meet and greet has been on for a little bit. Usually we're out of here in 15 minutes. We respect your time. And here is the goal. At the end of the course, we will send you a nice plaque. Do I have one handy? I don't think. No, we don't. Do we know where it is? Okay. I'll show it on Friday. I'll show you the plaque. And that's the goal. So with that, Lance, thank you very much. Joseph, do we have any questions? We have one question? We're clear. Very good. Enjoy the week. Enjoy the sessions. Give us your feedback, pro and con. We'll talk to you Friday at 10 o'clock Pacific. I'm sorry, Lance. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, make sure and queue up some good questions for this Friday's office hours. I'm ready for them, guys.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
I'm ready.
Very good. We'll talk to you Friday.
Thank
Take
you.
care.